The foreclosure notice arrived on a Tuesday night, sliding out of its pristine white envelope like a paper knife aimed straight at my heart. I had just finished my second shift at the mortgage consulting firm, and my chamomile tea was still too hot to drink. My name is Helen, and until that moment, I thought I knew exactly who I was and where I stood in life. 34, single, responsible to a fault. The kind of woman who color codes her financial records and pays her mortgage 3 days early every single month. "This has to be a mistake," I whispered, scanning the document again. But there it was, in black and white, my name, my address, my supposed signature on a refinancing agreement I'd never seen before. The dates, the account numbers, everything looked official. My hands started shaking. I called the bank immediately, despite the late hour. "I never authorized this," I told the customer service representative. "I never signed anything." "Ma'am, we have all the paperwork on file. The refinancing was processed 6 months ago, and the payments have been consistently late since then. We've sent multiple warnings." "Warnings to where? I haven't received anything." "The correspondence address was changed during the refinancing. Let me verify. Yes, it's being sent to a business address on Oak Street." My brother Dylan's latest startup office. The room started spinning. I drove to my parents' house at midnight, still in my work clothes. Mom answered the door in her robe, Dad right behind her. "Helen, what's wrong, mija?" I held up the foreclosure notice. "Care to explain why my house is being taken away for loans I never approved?" The color drained from my mother's face. My father's expression hardened into something I'd never seen before, guilt mixed with defiance. "Come inside," he said quietly. "We need to talk." "Dylan needed the capital," Mom started explaining as we sat at their kitchen table, the same one where we'd shared Sunday dinners for decades. His new venture had such potential, but the banks wouldn't approve him for more loans. "So, you stole my identity?" My voice cracked. "You forged my signature?" "Borrowed," Dad corrected. "We were going to pay it back before you ever found out. Dylan promised." "Dylan promises a lot of things," I cut in, "like all those times he promised to pay back the money I lent him for his sure thing investments, the money I earned working doubles and triples while he was out networking." "He's your brother," Mom pleaded. "We thought you'd understand. You're the strong one, Helen. You always land on your feet." I laughed, a hollow sound that scared even me. "Strong one? That's what you call the daughter you can exploit? The reliable backup plan?" "Don't be dramatic," Dad said. "This is family. We do what we must for family." "Family!" I stood up so fast my chair toppled backward. "I worked 7 years to pay off that house early. 7 years of overtime and side gigs and saying no to vacations. That house was my security, my future, and you just gave it away to Dylan?" "He needed another chance," Mom whispered. "Just one more chance." "And what about my chance? My choice?" Tears were falling now, but I couldn't feel them. "Did it ever occur to you that I earned the right to say no?" "Helen, please." Dad reached for my hand. I pulled away. "We can fix this. Together. As a family." "Family," I repeated, the word tasting like ash in my mouth. "Right." I walked out without another word, their calls echoing behind me. In my car, I sat motionless, staring at their porch light until it blurred. 7 years of sacrifice. Gone. My sanctuary. Gone. My trust. Gone. At home, for however long it remained mine, I went straight to my home office. The bottom drawer held a thick black binder labeled Policy and Legal Assets. Inside were insurance documents, property records, and every financial statement I'd ever received. I pulled out my phone and opened my contact list. Scrolled past Dylan's name, past my parents, past the aunts and uncles who would surely take their side. Stopped at a name I hadn't called in years, Martina, my cousin, the family outcast, the ruthless attorney who'd sued her own uncle for fraud and won. My hands weren't shaking anymore as I added a new tab to the binder. Evidence. They thought I was the strong one, the reliable one? Fine. Let me show them just how strong I can be. The forgery isn't even good, Claire said, squinting at the documents spread across my kitchen counter. Look at how the H-E in your signature tilts the wrong way. Amateur hour. My best friend had shown up at dawn with coffee and her trademark brutal honesty. I'd barely slept, spending the night documenting everything I could remember about Dylan's financial history with our family. Amateur or not, it worked, I said, taking another sip of coffee. The bank accepted it. 6 months of payments I knew nothing about, redirected statements, the whole thing. You're filing charges, right? Claire's eyes narrowed. Because if you're thinking of letting this slide, already called a lawyer, meeting him in 2 hours. The lawyer's office smelled like leather and authority. Mr. Patterson listened without interrupting as I laid out the evidence, his expression growing darker with each detail. This is textbook identity theft, he said finally. The fact that it's family doesn't change the criminality. Have you filed a police report? Not yet. I wanted to. File it today, he cut in. Right after we're done here. The sooner we establish a paper trail, the better. I nodded, my throat tight. Will I have to testify against them? Most likely. Are you prepared for that? Yes. The word came out stronger than I expected. The police station was next. Officer Martinez took my statement, her pen scratching against paper as I recounted every detail. When I finished, she looked up with unexpected sympathy. Family fraud cases are the worst, she said, but you're doing the right thing. Too many victims stay quiet out of shame or loyalty. My phone buzzed continuously throughout the process, texts and calls from my parents, growing increasingly desperate. Mom, please call us. We can explain everything. Dad, your mother hasn't stopped crying. Is this what you want? Dylan, hey, sis, heard you're upset. Let's grab coffee and talk it out. I ignored them all. Back at work, I couldn't focus. My colleague Sandra stopped by my desk around lunch. There's someone here to see you, she whispered. Says he's your brother? I found Dylan in the lobby, wearing his startup founder best, designer jeans, blazer, practiced smile. He held up a peace offering, my favorite caramel latte. Get out, I said quietly. Come on, Helen, don't be like that. He stepped closer. Look, I know things got messy, but I can fix this. The new venture is about to take off. Like the last 3 were about to take off? I kept my voice low, professional. Leave, now, or I'll call security. His smile faltered. You're really going to do this? Turn against your own family? You did that when you stole my house. Borrowed, he hissed. Jesus, you're so dramatic. Mom and Dad are devastated. Is that what you wanted? What I wanted was a choice. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Claire. Did you message Martina yet? I hadn't. The thought of reaching out to my estranged cousin made my stomach clench. Martina had cut ties with the family years ago, after a brutal legal battle with our uncle over his failed business. The family called her heartless, cruel, a traitor to blood. Now I wondered if she'd been right all along. Back at my desk, I opened LinkedIn and found her profile, still at her own law firm, still specializing in fraud cases. My cursor hovered over the message button. Just do it, Claire texted again. What's the worst that could happen? I typed quickly before I could change my mind. Hi, Martina. It's Helen. I need your help. Family fraud situation, similar to what you dealt with. Can we talk? The response came 3 minutes later. Well, which one of them finally got to you? Call me tonight. Here's my number. And Helen, let's light your match. As I saved her number, my work email pinged. Anonymous sender. Ms. Ramirez, I work in document processing at First National. What happened to you isn't right. Attached are copies of all paperwork related to your refinancing, including internal emails confirming the signature verification was rushed through. I'm sorry, but I can't come forward officially. Good luck. I downloaded everything with shaking hands. There it was. proof. Emails between my parents and the bank, Dylan's business plan, every forged document. My phone buzzed one more time. Mom again. Please, mija, don't destroy this family. I stared at her message for a long moment before typing my response. You already did that. I'm just documenting the ruins. Then I blocked their numbers, one by one, and dialed Martina's. Martina arrived like a storm in a designer suit, her heels clicking against the airport terminal floor with military precision. 5 years hadn't changed her much. Same sharp eyes, same no-nonsense posture. But her smile, when she saw me, was genuine. You look terrible, she said, hugging me briefly. When's the last time you slept? Does it matter? Yes, we need you sharp. She hailed a taxi. First stop, your family accountant. Carl's office was exactly as I remembered, cramped, cluttered, smelling of coffee and printer ink. His eyes widened when he saw Martina. I'm not at liberty to discuss client information, he started, shuffling papers nervously. Martina placed a document on his desk. Actually, you are. Helen's signed release, plus evidence of fraudulent activity involving accounts you manage. Choose carefully what happens next, Carl. He deflated like a punctured balloon. I tried to talk them out of it, he muttered. Told them it was illegal, dangerous. When? I demanded. When did you know? Your father approached me 8 months ago. Said Dylan had a sure thing, just needed capital. I warned him banks wouldn't touch it. Then he mentioned your house. And you didn't think to warn me? Carl wouldn't meet my eyes. They're my oldest clients, Helen. Your father said you'd understand once Dylan's business took off. Martina's laugh was cold. How's that working out? Show us everything, Carl. Now. The next hour was a blur of documents, each worse than the last. Not just my house. They'd refinanced Dad's pension, taken loans against both properties, all funneled into Dylan's LLC. They're underwater, Carl admitted finally. The startup's bleeding money. Your parents? They're basically bankrupt. The room tilted sideways. Martina's hand gripped my arm, steadying me. That's why they did it, I whispered. They're counting on me to forgive them, to save them. Again. Helen, Carl leaned forward. They're your parents. Surely. Surely what? Martina cut in. Surely she'll sacrifice herself again? Keep enabling their fraud? You don't understand family loyalty. I understand the law, Martina snapped. And accountability. Copy everything, Carl. Now. Outside, the sun was setting. I stood on the sidewalk, feeling strangely empty. You okay? Martina asked. I should be crying, right? Screaming? Breaking things? There's no should. Feel what you feel. That's just it. I turned to her. I don't feel anything. They're drowning, and I don't feel anything. Martina's expression softened. Come on, you need food, and I need to tell you a story. The diner was quiet, just us and a few truckers. Martina stirred her coffee, considering her words. Remember when I sued Uncle Roberto? The family never shut up about it. Called you a traitor. Yeah, well, here's what they don't know. Roberto didn't just steal from the business. He was embezzling from Aunt Teresa's inheritance. His own wife. Martina's voice hardened. She got cancer 2 years later. Couldn't afford the experimental treatment that might have saved her. Died believing she'd never had the money for it. Jesus, I whispered. I didn't know. Nobody did. Roberto played the grieving husband perfectly. Meanwhile, I found the offshore accounts. Too late to help Teresa, but in time to make him pay. She met my eyes. The family called me heartless, but sometimes, Helen, the most loving thing you can do is stop the cycle, make them face consequences. My phone lit up, a text from Claire, another from my Aunt Maria, a voicemail from Dad. They're all saying I'm destroying the family, I said. No, you're just refusing to let them destroy you. Martina pulled out her laptop. Ready to go nuclear? What do you mean? I've reviewed everything. We have enough for civil fraud charges, Criminal too, but let's start with civil. One filing, and everyone will know. Your parents, Dylan, the whole family network they're using against you. Name and shame. My hands started shaking. They'll never forgive me. Good. Martina's voice was steel. Because you should never forgive them. I stared at my reflection in the diner window. The daughter they raised to be reliable. The sister they taught to sacrifice. The woman they thought would cave. Do it, I said. Martina nodded once and began typing. I watched the words appear on screen, each one a nail in the coffin of my old life. Civil complaint for fraud and damages. My phone buzzed again. Mom, please call us. We're family. I finally felt something then. Not grief, not rage, relief. No, I whispered. Not anymore. The flowers arrived at my office on Thursday, a massive bouquet of lilies, my favorite. The card read, "Let's talk. I miss my sister." Dylan. I dropped them in the break room trash. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Did you get my peace offering? Dylan's text read, "Come on, sis, we can fix this." I was typing, "Leave me alone," when Sandra appeared at my desk. Your brother's here again. This time, Dylan had brought reinforcements. Dad waited in the lobby too, both of them blocking the exit. Perfect ambush timing during lunch hour. 2 minutes, I said before they could speak. Then I'm calling security. The lawsuit is a mistake, Dad started. You're not thinking clearly. Actually, I'm thinking clearly for the first time in years. Dylan stepped closer, voice low and urgent. Look, I know I messed up, but this legal stuff, it'll ruin everyone. Mom can barely eat. Dad's blood pressure. Don't you dare, I hissed. Don't you dare use their health to manipulate me. Not after what you did. What I did? Dylan's charm cracked slightly. They forged the signatures, not me. I just accepted their help. Time's up. I pulled out my phone. Security or police? Your choice. They left, Dylan's face dark with something I'd never seen before. An hour later, my phone lit up with an unknown number. Helen, this is Ismael, Dylan's former partner. We need to talk. I remembered Ismael, the only person who'd ever walked away from one of Dylan's ventures before it imploded. We met at a coffee shop across town. Dylan's been bragging about you for months, Ismael said, sliding into the booth. About how you'd cave eventually because you always do. His words. My coffee cup froze halfway to my mouth. What? The house thing wasn't spontaneous. They planned it last summer. Dylan said you were the perfect mark because you're financially responsible and too loyal to press charges. Ismael looked disgusted. I quit when I found out, but you should know they targeted you specifically because they knew you could handle the hit. The coffee turned to acid in my stomach. Why are you telling me this? Because Dylan called yesterday trying to recruit me again. Said once you calm down, the lawsuit will disappear and everything can restart. He pulled out his phone. I recorded the call. Dylan's voice filled the quiet corner. Helen will fold. She always does. Dad's working on her guilt complex, and Mom's doing the whole crying thing. 2 weeks max, then we're back in business. I listened to my brother dissect my psychological weaknesses like he was discussing market strategy. When it ended, my hands were steady. Thank you, I said quietly. Will you testify? Already sent the recording to your lawyer. That night, Martina came over with takeout and wine. We sat on my kitchen floor, sharing spring rolls and war stories. The worst part? Martina said, refilling our glasses. After I won the lawsuit against Roberto, my mother didn't speak to me for 2 years, said I'd chosen money over blood. What changed? She found his second family in Arizona, 3 kids he'd been supporting while claiming poverty to her. Martina's laugh was bitter. Suddenly my betrayal made sense, but she never apologized for doubting me. Did you forgive her? No, but I understood her better. She studied me over her wine glass. You know they'll never understand what they did to you, right? In their minds, you're the villain here. I know. I picked at the label on my bottle. Dylan called me a mark, his own sister. Family makes the best victims, Martina said softly. We're already trained to trust them. My phone buzzed, a group text from Aunt Teresa. Family meeting tomorrow. Everyone needs to talk sense into Helen before she destroys us all. They're mobilizing the troops, I said, showing Martina. Good. Let them. She pulled out her laptop. Because tomorrow we file the civil suit. Once it's public record, let's see how the family meeting goes. They'll hate me? Maybe, but you'll be free. She started typing. Choose, Helen, their love or your life. You can't have both. I thought about Dylan's recorded voice, so casual about manipulating me. About Dad in my office, weaponizing guilt, about Mom's tears, right on cue. Their love, I said slowly, comes with too high a price. Martina nodded and hit send. Somewhere in the city, court computers processed our filing. By morning, the family would know everything. My phone lit up one last time, Claire checking in. You okay? I looked around my kitchen, at the life I'd built, at the cousin who'd become my strongest ally, at the truth finally breaking free. No, I texted back, but I will be. The family meeting exploded exactly as expected. Aunt Teresa's house buzzed with angry voices before I even reached the door. I walked in with Martina beside me, Claire waiting in the car as backup. How could you? Aunt Maria rushed at me, waving her phone. The lawsuit is all over Facebook. Everyone can see it. That's the point, I said calmly. The living room was packed. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all staring at me like I'd grown a second head. Mom sat in the corner, dabbing her eyes theatrically. Dad stood by the window, arms crossed. No Dylan. This is not how we handle family matters, Uncle Roberto declared. The irony of him saying this to Martina made me want to laugh. Fraud isn't a family matter, Martina cut in. It's a crime. Nobody asked you, traitor, Aunt Maria snapped. Actually, I asked her, I said, because she's the only one here who understands boundaries. Boundaries? Mom's voice cracked perfectly. We're your parents, Helen. We changed your diapers, paid for your education, and stole my house. Borrowed, Dad exploded. We borrowed it for your brother's future. My future, I corrected. You stole my future. You're being dramatic, Uncle Roberto said. This can all be fixed if I just what? Roll over? Cave in? Let them get away with it? I pulled out my phone. Like Dylan said I would? I played Ismael's recording. The room fell silent as Dylan's voice filled the space, calculating and cold, describing exactly how to manipulate me. When it finished, Mom had stopped fake crying. She was staring at the phone in genuine shock. He planned this? She whispered. Don't act surprised, Martina said. You helped him do it. We were trying to help him, Dad insisted, but his voice wavered. No, I said quietly. You were using me, again. Like always. My phone buzzed, a text from Claire outside. 911, someone's messing with your car. Excuse me, I said pleasantly. I need to call the police. We found Barry, Dylan's tech friend, crouched by my car with a laptop. Claire had already recorded everything. The police arrived in minutes. He was trying to hack my car's computer system, I told the officer. After my brother's recorded threats, I consider this attempted assault. Barry cracked immediately. Dylan paid me to scare you. Just mess with your car's electronics a bit. He said it was a family joke. They arrested him on the spot. When we returned inside, the family meeting had shifted tone. This has gone too far, Aunt Teresa said. Helen, you need to drop the charges before... Before what? Martina challenged. Before the truth comes out? Too late. My phone dinged with an email notification. Speaking of truth, I said, the property records just went public. Want to see what Dylan did with all that stolen money? I projected the documents onto the wall using Teresa's smart TV. Bank statements, property transfers, failed investments, the complete paper trail of destruction. He lost everything, Dad whispered, scanning the numbers. All of it. Not everything, I corrected. Just my house, your pension, Mom's inheritance. But hey, family first, right? The doorbell rang. 2 police officers entered, not for Barry this time. We're investigating reports of identity theft and financial fraud, one said. We need to speak with Maria and Ricardo. Mom started crying again, real tears this time. Dad's face went gray. Helen, he pleaded, please, we're your parents. Yes, I said softly. You are, and actions have consequences. They left with the officers. The remaining family members stared at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. Back home, I found my mailbox destroyed. A note was taped to my door. Blood doesn't betray. Dylan's handwriting, Cal, Martina confirmed, studying it. More evidence. Add it to the pile. I was surprised by how calm I felt. You know what's funny? They keep saying blood doesn't betray, but that's exactly what they did. They betrayed me because they thought blood would protect them from consequences. Want me to stay over? Martina asked. No, I'm done hiding. I took down the note carefully, using a tissue to preserve fingerprints. Let him try something else. Every threat, every attack, every manipulation, it all just proves I'm right. My phone buzzed with messages from the family. You've gone too far. This isn't you. Think about what you're doing. I thought about Dylan's recorded voice, about Barry at my car, about the destroyed mailbox. Actually, I texted back to the group, this is exactly who I am. You just never bothered to notice. Then I turned off my phone and went inside my house, what was left of it, and finally, truly, felt at peace. The courthouse hallway felt colder than it should for May. I sat on a hard wooden bench, Martina on one side, Claire on the other, watching my parents whisper with their court-appointed lawyer. Ready? Martina asked. Born ready, I replied, though my hands shook slightly. The courtroom filled quickly. News of the case had spread through the local community. Family fraud made for juicy gossip. I spotted several familiar faces, including Carl the accountant, looking nervous in the back row. All rise. My parents pleaded guilty to reduced charges, their lawyer having negotiated a deal. The judge, a stern-faced woman in her 60s, reviewed the paperwork with narrowed eyes. Before I accept this plea, she said, I want to hear from the victim. I walked to the podium, my heels clicking against marble. Mom wouldn't look at me. Dad stared straight ahead. Ms. Helen, the judge said gently, would you like to make a statement? Yes, Your Honor. I unfolded my prepared notes, then set them aside. Actually, I'd like to speak from the heart. The room fell silent. Every time I helped my family, it was a choice. When Dylan needed rent money, when Mom needed dental work, when Dad's car broke down, I chose to help. I worked extra shifts, took side jobs, postponed my own dreams, because that's what family does, right? I turned to face my parents directly. But you took away my choice. You didn't ask for help. You stole it. You forged my signature, redirected my mail, and watched me work myself to exhaustion paying a mortgage that wasn't even going to my house anymore. Mom started crying. Dad's jaw clenched. The worst part? You planned it. You targeted me because you knew I was responsible, because you thought I'd cave when you cried family loyalty. You weaponized my love against me. The judge leaned forward. And how has this affected you? I lost my house. My credit is ruined. But worse than that, I lost my family. Not because I'm pressing charges, but because I finally see them clearly. Every time they say, blood doesn't betray, I remember how easily they betrayed mine. The back doors opened. Dylan strode in, perfectly timed for maximum drama. The bailiff moved to stop him, but the judge waved him through. Perfect timing, she said dryly. Mr. Dillon, since you're here, perhaps you'd like to address the court? Dylan straightened his tie, flashing his practiced smile. Your Honor, this is all a misunderstanding. My sister has been emotionally abusing me for years, I cut in, quoting his recorded words. I'm the victim here. She's always been controlling, always held money over my head. Dylan's smile faltered. I never... Play the tape, Martina called out. She connected her phone to the court's audio system, and Dylan's voice filled the room. Helen's a control freak, always has been. She'll cave because she needs to feel superior. Classic emotional abuse, really. We're the victims here. The recording continued, detailing every manipulation tactic, every planned guilt trip. When it ended, the silence was deafening. Well, the judge said, that certainly adds context. She turned to my parents. Do you still maintain you were acting in your family's best interest? Dad stood up slowly. We believed. We were wrong, Mom whispered. We were so wrong. Damn right you were, Dylan snapped. You promised this would work. You said she'd back down. Now everything's ruined because you couldn't even forge a signature properly. The judge's gavel cracked like thunder. Mr. Dylan, I suggest you exercise your right to remain silent. Bailiff, please ensure he stays for questioning. She turned back to my parents. I accept your guilty plea. Sentencing will include full restitution, community service, and mandatory financial counseling. She looked at me. Ms. Helen, do you accept these terms? Yes, Your Honor. Very well. She shuffled her papers. Oh, and one more thing. The property in question, your house, was sold at auction yesterday. I'm sorry. The room spun slightly. Claire grabbed my arm. It's gone? I whispered. The bank moved quickly, the judge said sympathetically, but the restitution order stands. They'll have to repay you the full value. I walked out of the courtroom on shaking legs. Behind me, I heard Dylan arguing with the bailiff, Mom crying, Dad calling my name. Helen, please. I kept walking. Outside, the May sun felt warmer now. Martina checked her phone and smiled. What? I asked. Just got a text from my contact at the auction house, she said. Want to know who bought your house? Does it matter? Her smile widened. Oh, yes, because phase 2 of our plan just kicked in perfectly. For the first time in months, I felt something like hope. Congratulations, Martina said, sliding a key across the cafe table. You're looking at the new owner of 1542 Maple Street. I stared at the familiar brass key. How? Remember my private investment fund? I bought your house at auction through a shell company. The bank was eager to offload it quickly. She grinned, and now I'm selling it back to you at cost. I can't afford. Yes, you can. The settlement money plus your savings is exactly enough. I made sure of that. Before I could respond, Martina's phone buzzed. Oh, this is good. The FBI just opened an investigation into Dylan's finances. Seems your brother's been busy with wire fraud and tax evasion. How did they? Carl Rodriguez finally grew a spine. He's cooperating with federal investigators. She showed me the email. Turns out your family drama was just the tip of the iceberg. My phone lit up with a news alert. Local entrepreneur under investigation for multiple fraud schemes. Dylan's smiling headshot stared back at me. It gets better, Martina said. Watch this. She played a video on her phone, security footage from Dylan's office. He was yelling at someone off screen. Mom's a useful idiot. She actually thought I'd pay everyone back, like I care about Dad's pension or Helen's stupid house. They were all just stepping stones. The timestamp showed it was from yesterday. How did you get this? Ismail had access to the security system. He's been collecting evidence for months. Martina's smile was razor sharp. I sent a copy to your mother this morning. My hands trembled. That'll destroy her. No, that'll free her, just like the truth freed you. We drove to my house again, that afternoon. The front door had been kicked in, walls marked with angry graffiti. Dylan's last tantrum. We'll fix it, Claire said, already making calls to contractors. Make it better than before. Martina walked the perimeter, taking photos for the insurance claim. Silver lining, the damage adds another charge to Dylan's growing list. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. Mom's voice was barely recognizable. I saw the video, she whispered. All this time, we sacrificed everything for him, and he... Don't, I cut her off. Don't call me for comfort. Not anymore. Helen, please. I'm your mother. And I'm your daughter, the one you betrayed. Remember? Silence stretched between us. Decades of manipulation finally laid bare. I'm sorry, she said finally. I know it's not enough, but you're right, it's not. I ended the call. Claire appeared with paint samples. Ready to reclaim your space? More than ready. We spent the afternoon planning renovations, new security system, reinforced doors, fresh paint throughout, erasing every trace of betrayal. One more surprise, Martina said, as sunset painted the walls gold. She pulled out her laptop. Remember how Dylan always bragged about his business contacts? His network? She pulled up a spreadsheet. This is everyone he's scammed in the last 5 years. Investors, partners, suppliers. They're all filing charges. How many? 27 so far. The DA's building a RICO case. My phone buzzed again. Dad this time. I let it go to voicemail. You know what's funny? I said, watching the screen fade to black. They always said I was the strong one, the reliable one. They meant it as an excuse to use me. And now? Claire asked. Now it's a warning, because they never thought I'd be strong enough to fight back. Martina's phone chimed. Speaking of fighting back, Dylan just got arrested trying to board a flight to Mexico. Want to guess what he had with him? Mom's jewelry, Dad's emergency cash, both, plus documents showing he was planning this exit strategy for months. She showed me the police report. He really was going to leave them all holding the bag. I walked through my damaged house, touching familiar walls. Each room held memories, Sunday dinners, holiday gatherings, family secrets, all tainted now but not destroyed. You know what? I said, facing my friends. Let's gut it. Complete renovation, new floors, new walls, new memories. Phoenix rising now, Claire said softly. No, I corrected her. Phoenix burning. Sometimes you have to destroy everything to build something true. Outside, the sun set on my old life. Inside, we planned my new one, brick by brick, truth by truth, standing in the ashes of blind loyalty. My phone buzzed one last time, the family group chat exploding with Dylan's arrest news. I left it on red. Some fires need to burn themselves out. The housewarming party was small, exactly how I wanted it. Claire arranged sunflowers in the renovated kitchen while Martina uncorked wine. Ismael helped hang the last photo, me standing proudly in front of my restored home. Did they RSVP? Claire asked softly. All of them, I said, straightening a coaster. Not that I expect anyone to show. I'd sent invitations to every family member, not from obligation, but from strength. Let them choose whether to face what they'd enabled. The doorbell rang at exactly 7. I opened it to find Aunt Teresa standing alone, clutching a small gift bag. The others aren't coming, she said. They're at your parents' house having an alternative gathering. Of course they are. I stepped aside. Come in. She paused in the entryway, taking in the changes. New hardwood floors, fresh paint, every trace of damage erased. It's beautiful, she said quietly. You did good, Helen. Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me. She handed me the gift bag. And for showing Roberto's true colors all those years ago. Martina was right about him, about everything. Martina appeared in the doorway, wineglass in hand. Aunt Teresa turned to her. I never apologized, she said, for doubting you, for choosing comfort over truth. No, Martina agreed. You didn't. They looked at each other for a long moment. Then Martina offered her aunt a glass of wine. The evening flowed easier than expected. Claire's husband brought their kids, who chased each other through the house, filling it with honest laughter. Ismael shared stories about Dylan's business failures that somehow weren't painful anymore. My phone stayed quiet. No guilt-tripping texts, no manipulative calls. The silence felt like freedom. Mail came, Claire said, bringing in a stack of envelopes. On top was a thick one from the district attorney's office. I opened it, scanning quickly. Dylan took a plea deal, 5 years plus restitution. Your parents? Ismael asked. Probation, mandatory counseling. They're living with my uncle in Arizona now. I set the letter aside. It's done. Not quite, Martina said, pulling out her laptop. Remember that recording of Dylan calling your mom a useful idiot? It went viral in the local business community. Every investor he ever scammed is coming forward. How many now? 43. She smiled grimly. Your brother's going to be paying restitution until he's 80. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Carl, the accountant, looking nervous but determined. I brought files, he said, holding up a briefcase. Everything I should have reported years ago. The FBI has copies, but you should know the whole truth. We spread the documents across my new dining table. Years of financial manipulation laid bare. Dylan's schemes, my parents' enabling, the slow destruction of family wealth, all hidden under a veneer of success. I'm sorry, Carl said. I should have warned you. Yes, I agreed. You should have. He left the files and walked out. No forgiveness asked or offered. As the evening wound down, Claire's kids fell asleep on my new couch. Ismael helped clean up, while Martina and Aunt Teresa talked quietly in the corner, decades of family history being rewritten with truth. Last piece of news, Martina said as guests prepared to leave. The FBI found Dylan's offshore accounts, the ones he hid from everyone, including Mom and Dad. Want to guess how much was in them? I shook my head. Enough to have saved your house 10 times over. He had the money all along. The information should have hurt. Instead, it felt like the final lock breaking. You know what's funny? I said, walking my guests out. They kept saying I was ruining the family, but you can't ruin something that was already broken. You can only expose the cracks. Aunt Teresa hugged me goodbye. Will you ever forgive them? No, I said honestly, but I'm grateful. Grateful? They showed me who they really are, and who I really am. I looked at my restored home. Sometimes the best family is the one you choose. After everyone left, I sat on my porch swing, the one Claire helped me install last week. The night was quiet, my phone was silent, and my house stood strong. No more guilt, no more manipulation, no more blind loyalty. Just truth, consequences, and peace. I took out my keys, the old set I'd kept as evidence, and the new set Martina had given me. Slowly, deliberately, I dropped the old keys into the trash. Some chains need to be broken, some fires need to burn, some lessons need to scar. But I was home now, really, truly home, and that was enough.